Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. Welcome to the Golden Hour. I am happy to have Sherene Strausberg here from 87th Street Creative. She's going to be talking today about video animation for problem solving. So instead of just creating a video, she can create motion graphics that tell the story of your brand and deliver it in a way where people really understand what's going on. And so I'm happy to have her today with us to talk about herself, what she does, and provide us with some samples. So great to see you, Sherene.
Thank you, Lainey. Thank you so much for having me. I will share screens because why not show you guys some of my work and a little bit about my process and all that wonderful stuff. I assume you're seeing the white screen right now?
Got it.
Cool. All right. If you've got a product to sell or a story to tell, we make it come to life. I'm Sherene from 87th Street Creative, and we create animated videos from concept to completion. So does your company have a complex product that's trying to gain new users, or maybe an app or a SaaS? Or does your company have a nonprofit have a backstory to their mission statement? Or perhaps you want to start a YouTube channel or spice up your social media feed. Maybe you already have videos, but they're not attracting users. Perhaps you're tired of seeing so many whiteboard videos out there. 87th Street Creative can be the exclamation point to your visual marketing strategy. We love using graphics to help tell stories or explain complex topics, from something as short as a 5-second looping animated logo to a longer 1 or 2 minute explainer video like this one.
Your organization has the energy and the passion to create massive change. You just need people to show up. Mobilize is the event management and volunteer recruitment platform that connects mission-driven organizations and their supporters.
We help your company's messaging with visual storytelling through video animation. We focus on nonprofits and companies in healthcare, cannabis, and tech. And we take you through a 9-step process to make an amazing, engaging video that gets your audience and user base excited. Step 1, the creative brief. We meet with the client and to understand your brand voice, look, and feel. Step 2, write a script. We finalize text on screen or what the voiceover will be saying. Step 3, create a mood board. I research images, reference video examples, and then go on to step 4, creating style frames. Customized artwork that we create on point with your brand. Step 5, we create a storyboard, which is the roadmap to your video. Images from every sentence of your script. Step 6, the animatic. We source music tracks and place them on a timeline with images and scratch voiceover. Step 7, the voiceover. With a script finalized, we record the voiceover artist and we edit the music and sound effects. Step 8, the animation. All the elements are brought together and animated. And then step 9, delivery. The video is handed off to your marketing or web development team to go out to the world. Before I learned animation, I was a graphic designer and illustrator in New York City. And before that, I was a film composer. From coast to coast and around the world, my career has come full circle and has created a talent stack of all the skills needed to do motion design and motion graphics to really help tell a story and connect with audiences. I have a good eye for design, and I love to discover other talented creatives who bring unique skills. My team is made up of several freelance animators from all over the world, from Brooklyn to Beijing. One of my main assistant animators is Isha Wang. Before she learned animation, she was an equestrian competitive jumper who definitely understands rhythm, motion, and timing down to her bones. 87th Street Creative was actually started 8 years ago and began as a graphic design company. But in 2018, we pivoted to only motion graphics. And from 2020 to 2021, revenue grew. And then from 2021 to 22, revenue increased again, just slightly. But we also increased expenses and we brought on additional support, including a social media marketer, web developer, publicist, additional freelancers. And we've begun partnering with audio production companies and a video production company. And we're in the process of updating our logo and doing our own branding right now, which will launch in the summer of 2020. And I will pause it there and share with you. Let's see, I'm going to stop sharing screen.
Amazing. That was amazing.
I want to,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. Thank you. I'm going to share, let's see, how do I do this? Wait. I want to share a different screen. Hold on a second while I transition to a different screen. So the animation that I had shown you earlier was just like 20-second clip of it. I'll play you the entire thing now and sort of walk you through my process of how that whole project kind of worked out.
That's great. I think a lot of people would be interested in knowing the value behind what you create, all the thought behind it, you know, that it's, I think sometimes people don't understand how difficult or detailed a process can be, because something, as a designer, you and I both know, when it's done, it looks like it was just born that way. It's so simple and clean and fast, right? But to get to that point takes a lot of strategy. So I think
Totally.
that's
awesome. Right. Lots of jumping through hoops and strategizing and all of that. So, so this is a 90-second video. I will play the whole thing for you, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
Your organization has the energy and the
I
passion
can't see it.
to change.
Uh-oh.
You need to share your screen.
I thought I did. Oh no, thank you for telling me. Let's see. Does that work? Let's see. Okay. How's that now? Sweet.
Perfect.
I'll make it a little bit louder too.
Your organization has the energy and the passion to create massive change. You just need people to show up. Mobilize is the event management and volunteer recruitment platform that connects mission-driven organizations and their supporters. We're trusted by thousands of advocacy groups, campaigns, unions, and nonprofits, and have made it easy for millions of volunteers to take action. Mobilize increases volunteer signups, decreases flake rates, converts supporters into donors, and saves staff hours every week. We improve these metrics faster than anyone because we're uniquely focused on what drives your supporters to show up. Here's how it works. Your branded Mobilize feed becomes the central hub for recruiting and organizing supporters. You'll start adding events on day one. Through automated emails and text, we ensure volunteers who sign up show up, bring their friends, and come back. You can even enable all-star supporters to host events on your behalf, effortlessly expanding your organization's impact. And we integrate with all your existing tools. But here's what really makes us unique. Our network gets stronger as more organizations and volunteers join. That means more promotional channels for your events, new supporters, and enhanced data. You want to affect change, and we want to make that possible. Together, we can empower your supporters to create a better world. Join us.
Awesome. All right. So,
Love it.
yeah. So I'll kind of walk you through a little bit. One of the things that this company was doing is they were actually rebranding, and like they were coming up with like updated colors and fonts and the look of their website. And so they like had a lot of the assets, but they were still sort of almost being developed as I was being brought on. But the big thing was about explaining this concept, like this, okay, it's a platform that connects volunteers with the people who need the volunteers. Like that was just a little bit of like a leap for companies and nonprofits, campaigns, you know, to understand. And so I think explaining it in this video format was great. And so they came to me with a fairly fleshed out script, which is always exciting when there is like something at least created that explains it. When they came to me, the script was probably about 2 minutes long. And I really worked with them to try to cut that down. We probably cut it down to like 1:40. And then by the time we actually recorded it and like went into like production of the animation, it was already probably going from like 1:40 to then like 1:25. So you really want to be, you know, it's like the old saying, show don't tell, right? Or brevity is the soul of wit. It's like the more you can be succinct and clear without being too wordy. So with you know, the fact that they had these branding guidelines created was super helpful. You can see these are some of the graphics I'm showing on screen here that they initially gave me that yeah, you can see like there is a connection between, you know, what ended up in the video.
Right.
And so that was a great way to start.
Mhm.
And then it was about coming up with a storyboard. And we went through a lot of iterations. And I mean, the key to the storyboard is you really want to nail down your video in this step, because I always say if somebody likes the pictures, like just the static images, you're gonna love it once it moves. Like then it's just like, you know, sort of adding in that secret sauce, the, you know, the skip in the step. So one of the things I try to do is really try to be as clear as possible in this storyboard. So you can see like these red arrows I have. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So yeah, so you can see like, you know, there's a little line that has the voiceover of what the, you know, voiceover will be saying, but then there's actually a sentence underneath that's my indication to the client saying, okay, this is what's going to be happening during the animation. And then the red arrows is a nice visual cue. They can see, oh, this is going to be coming in from here. This is going to be going in there. You know, people tend to really like that aspect of it.
Right. Do you ever get clients that say, you know what, I can't tell. I need to see it animated before I can tell you if I like it or not?
Yes, that has happened. And a couple of things that I will do in that case is I will give them almost like a screen test. Like I can say, well, let me animate, you know, a 10-second clip. And that way you can kind of see a little bit of that flavor or that movement. Like even this video specifically was that kind of stop motion, jaggedy, edgy kind of style.
Yeah.
And so I think that was really helpful, like for this client to, you know, see that in the early stages of the animation of like,
Right.
well, that's the movement. And they're like, oh, that totally fits with our brand. So, I mean, I never want to get too far into animation when we're still in the storyboard phase. But if you want to, you know, I think of it almost as like a screen test. I think that's fine.
That's good, because I know that like in creative, in website stuff, you know, we want to design it flat, and then, you know, we don't want to have it programmed and then have them rechange the design because the framework is there. They have to like be able to make that leap, you know, and so that's nice that you provide that, because sometimes clients that are, let's say, not creative, or lawyers or CPAs, they're like, I'm not creative. I know they are, but they don't trust themselves to make decisions, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's all, like it's also good to have reference, you know, and that's why the like mood board and the research phase really helps, because, you know, you can say, oh, well, this is like that video, or this is like this one. So that was another great thing about this project. The client Mobilize had like a couple examples of reference videos that they showed me, and they're like, we like this. And I was like, great, I will make it like that. And it's, I mean, it was a totally different brand and different product, totally, but like, there's just that feeling, that essence, like, you know, it had the feeling of this video as a reference. So that's really helpful when clients do that. So yeah, so then, you know, another big step along this way is really, you know, coming up with the sound and really figuring out like what is a good music track. And the reason that's so important, this is like a little screenshot that you can see where I basically take every image of the storyboard and I will line it up on a timeline, and then I will put voiceover and music underneath. Mm-hmm. And the reason that is so helpful is because then you at least get a little bit of a sense of timing. So like if you've made your video a minute and a half and a minute into watching the animatic, you're like, oh, this is way too long. Let's figure that out before we get into animation. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Question about like the music, right? So do you provide, like, if someone's like, I want to have, you know, Jimi Hendrix, whatever, you know, and it's copywritten content, do you like help guide the client to like content or music that's not copywritten and that they have access to? Can you talk a little bit about those expectations?
Absolutely. So yes, I actually used to be a film composer and wrote my own music. So I very much respect the artists. They should be paid for their work. And so, no, I will never use any copywritten music. And if somebody wants to hire me to write their music, that's fine, but most likely there's not going to be a budget for that. But it does mean that I have an ear and I can really help you get the right sound. And one of the reasons I actually don't include music licensing in the fee to hire me is because there is such a wide range of music out there that can be licensed, that's royalty free. To do for a project like this. So I usually say to the client, look, I can get you a track that's, $5, $10, or I can get you a track that's like $500 to $1,000. And you get what you pay for. So it's like, it's going to be here. I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment. So, I mean, it's really going to be about, what is in your budget. And one of the reasons I actually share this example of this project is that's exactly what I did with the Mobilize team. I was like, okay, what do you have in your budget? And they're like, well, we're thinking around like $25 to $50. And I was like, okay. So I found a whole bunch of great music tracks. I shared them with them and they're like, yeah, no, we want something better. And I was like, can we go up in budget? And they're like, yeah, maybe try like something in like $100 to $200 range. So I went to like a slightly better music library. To cut the story short, I will tell you, we ended up at an $800 track. So like, that's not cheap like that. I mean, it's cheap for what they were getting, in my opinion, but I mean, it's, when you consider that there is free music or, $5 music tracks out there, $800 was a lot, but it sounds so good, right?
I think that it sounds reasonable to me too. So like if someone wants the sound of like typewriters in the background or like walking people down the road or whatever, that's considered a track as well, right? I mean, it's not technically music, but it's sound. Is that like a similar price point, or do you know?
Well, so yeah, it's a good question. I mean, so that falls under sound effects.
Sound effects. Okay.
And that is, I mean, it's same thing. It's like, yeah, I could go hire a Foley artist who's going to be thousands of dollars,
right.
Or I could buy some, short little clips from some sound effects libraries, or I could try and find, ones that are available out there for free. It just kind of depends what is the budget and what the client is interested in, having.
There's so many options out there now for things too. Cause like, I remember back in the day when I was designing, I would get a photographer. We were doing some labels and he would we would do a photo shoot for cutting boards, right? Cause it was a cooking customer. And now you can just buy the cutting board on a iStock library. And so things have really become a lot more optimized, I think, but customization is definitely key.
Yeah, there actually is a sound effects software that I really want to buy. It's kind of on my wish list. And the way you make the sound effects is actually like with like a mouse or a graphic tablet. So you're custom, like you kind of pick the sound, but then you can set the duration by like how long. Yeah. So that's super cool. To me, that's like a nice combination. I'm not out there with a microphone and headphones recording leaves rustling, but I'm still customizing it a little bit.
What would you say to like, so you just had all those great assets from that company, right? They had like a brand style guidelines. What would you say to like maybe a law firm, or a CPA firm that doesn't have all those branding assets or all those resources, or a lot of times I ask clients, what's your budget? They go, I don't know, like, how much is it? Like, right. What are your thoughts on those two, if those are similar-ish kind of questions?
Sure. I mean, one of the things I would often say to a client to begin with is like, okay, you think you don't have any assets, but have you ever put together a PowerPoint presentation? And I've actually just did this with a client. They're like, oh yeah, we have a PowerPoint that's got all these icons in it. We use them on everything except the website. And I was like, I can use those like that. I mean, those assets weren't, they're not made for animation. So I have to like convert them into vector graphics. And also it's a little bit, of an extra step for me, but the fact that is in their design, world, it was helpful and they just didn't realize it.
That's interesting. I think a lot of companies like jimmy rig their branding, right? And they haven't formalized it. So I think that's because they're doing something, whether or not it's by default, right?
Yeah, right. And I mean, I'd like to think like, okay, well, I'm going to elevate them a little bit, whether it's, like just sort of like putting some finer design details on them, or better, updating their colors on it. But it's like, clearly they like it if they're putting it in all their PowerPoints. And so, and I mean, PowerPoint has its limitations, but I would say, at least that's somewhere to start, even with a law firm, who has a 100-page deck that they share with, all their clients, right? So that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. As a graphic designer at heart, the PowerPoint makes me nauseous, but it's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. And then another place would be, I'd say, like I would almost want to show them examples out there of maybe other law firms that do have, a design aesthetic to them, and say, do you like that? And I think it's often like, so if you show something to a client, they'll be like, oh no, that's not right. Or, oh yeah, that's totally what we're like, and I'm not going to say we're going to go copy it, but it's going to be used as inspiration.
Right. That's interesting too. I think, a lot of law firms, maybe in particular, or traditional services firms, say, you know what, that's not for us. We're like very conservative, we wouldn't do that kind of video. But I think video is it's something that everybody needs to do eventually to stay on top, to promote themselves. And there's ways that you can do it where it could be more traditionally executed within their brand, or it can deliver more of a classic feel. It doesn't have to be someone that's purple, what I mean, that's jumping around, right? And so it's the vehicle can be your vehicle of motion graphics can be customized to any brand.
Absolutely. Totally. I mean, I did a video it was a mental health study. And yeah. I mean, obviously there was not, it wasn't bouncy and goofy and fun and loud, no, it was subdued. There was some gravitas to it, and there was, no levity, but I mean, it was about, sharing the information. And that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing information.
Right.
And that information can be serious. And I will make the animation appropriate for that.
Yeah, I think that's a big takeaway for people, that that you're sharing information and it can be customized to any brand at all. I think a lot of times people think of motion graphics as kind of jovial and playful and, but it can be branded. So cool. Okay. That's a great answer.
Yeah. I mean, I even think about stuff with like government, like I think about like the UN. I mean, they've got, the 12 sustainable goals, sustainability goals. I mean, they're all different colors, but they're talking about like world hunger and illness. But it's like, but by putting it into like colors and visuals, they're creating a visual language, and that is helpful for communication. And that's when I think about like the law firms and the CPAs, and it's like, you're dealing with something that you understand, but is really complex for the rest of the world. So let's figure out how we can communicate that to other people besides other lawyers and CPAs.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, because we get so expert at what we do, right? We're like, oh yeah, it's easy. Yeah. But yeah, I guess too, like always thinking about using your tool as a way to like help sell. And I don't think sell is a bad word. I know a lot of people think it. I think sales means just helping people. Like, how do you get people to understand all the value that you have, right? Because everybody does a service differently. So that's where the branding comes in too, is really sharing that unique selling proposition that each person has or company.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging. I'm not going to say it's easy. I mean, one of the challenges I personally have is that clients do not come back to me and say, oh my God, this video got, 40 million views. Now we're, overwhelmed with business. I mean, it's usually never that obvious. Right. Although one video did get retweeted by Senator Elizabeth Warren, which was super exciting because then it grew to like 80,000 views on YouTube. So it's not always going to do that. But I think, I guess I almost say is it's anecdotal type of information that people come back to me, they're like, oh yeah, like our clients loved it, or yeah, we got, some clients, watching our YouTube video and, they really enjoy it. I mean, it's just about, hearing the stories of people saying, oh yeah, that's really fun, or oh, that's really interesting. I mean, even something as simple as like the whole animated logo thing. You see mine
Right.
up in the top right corner. I can even share, let's see.
I think what you're talking about too, which is so key right now, is social proof.
Yeah,
Social
right.
proof, right? Yeah. I mean, it just engages people, right? On a visceral level, the animation, it brings people in, especially with our lack of paying attention, now.
Well,
But
right. I mean, you must know, like, what's that statistic of like how many seconds somebody gives a website before they like
yeah,
click away?
like
So
3 seconds. Well, I know we do a lot on the loading speed, right? So when we're doing SEO, and if the loading on mobile is long, I think longer than 3 seconds, they click off. And so Google uses that as one of its metrics to rank your website. Because if it takes forever to draw, they're like, we're out of here.
yep.
So
Yeah. I get it.
yeah, no, I think that, yeah, interesting. Okay, so did I interrupt your presentation with these questions? Where you did you want to
No, well, I mean, we're kind of, I think almost at the end. I think the last part here, wait a minute here, I'll share the screen here.
bring it back? I just thought it was
Um,
relevant because I saw the thing. Go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, so once we are in the animatic, we'll get the music and the voiceover going, and then we go into that finalizing all the sound. That's what I call the secret sauce. But then finalizing the magic, I guess, is really where. And I mean, you can see all. I don't know. It's might be hard to see on this screen, but all the little like red squares and gray squares. These are all like my
Yep.
assets moving around. Um, yeah, so it gets a little bit messy if you ever like actually look at my files. But
Yeah.
but I mean, in terms of like delivery, I know I mentioned that in my video earlier about like, okay, the video is done, but like, where is it going to go? So here I can stop sharing. But it's like it might be something where like the video needs to be cut down to a 1-to-1 ratio that could go on Instagram. It might need to have subtitles added to the bottom to make it closed caption accessible. It might need to be cut down by length. So I think 1 minute is the limit on some social media platforms. So if it's a 2-minute video, let's figure out where's that point that we could, cut it down, or split it into like a part 1 and part 2. So, I don't mean to sort of gloss over the delivery, but I mean, there's a lot of things that happen once we're done that are, really finalizing everything in terms of where is it going to go and how's it going to get delivered and pushed out. And this is why I love collaborating with like a web developer or a social media marketer, because the web developer is going to say, oh, this is how it's going to go, how we're going to put it, and make it smooth and run well on the website. Or the social media marketer is going to know, okay, these are the best platforms to put it on and place it on. And I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to say, here's the file, and make sure that it follows all your guidelines as the web developer, social media marketer.
Right. I think that's a key component of the understanding the work, right? It's very it's separate. What is it? The distribution of the content, right? And so you make the content, the animated graphics, the files. What's the MP3, or what is the file type?
Yeah, so MP4 would basically be the basic file format. But there's a couple options, like if you're going to want to put it, let's say, over a live video, like either on the side of the screen or something, it could be an MOV file, so it has a transparent background. And then if it's going to be something you want to put on like your newsletter, or maybe in like the bottom of your email signature, then it would have to be a GIF. So those are all options that I can make sure I can export out of my animation software.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. I mean, I think that's a key component to the discussion because, a lot of times people don't like think about it, right? They're like, okay, now what do we do with it? Oh, well, we need this file type or we need that, or so you can help steer them in the right direction. I know that we advise a lot of our clients to do videos, put them on Vimeo, or is that right? Or Vimeo, because then we can bring it into the website, it redraws, it mobile, it optimizes for mobile, we don't actually put any videos on the website. It's always posted either YouTube or Vimeo as a way to get extra bang for your buck, right? Because
Totally.
YouTube's the second largest search engine, but it's actually the same thing as Google, it's just in video. So
Yep, exactly. I tell people that all the time, that it's like, if somebody's looking for something now, they're not always going to Google, they're going to YouTube.
yeah, I know that I do. It's like, or just how to do anything, right? Like if
Yeah.
change your oil or unlock a door or like explainer videos. And this is the other thing too. I think that's even like what we're doing right now. The expectation around it being super proper and like high whatever, like lighting, makeup, whatever. I mean, that in itself is like, doesn't have to be like $1 million budget, going back to the budget to create it, right? So like back in the day, commercials were all very like high production value. Like the expectations around people is that it can be a little more like casual in its like presentation. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, look, everybody's got an iPhone now, right? Like you can make your own video and, or record yourself talking about your business. Um, you know, it's like anybody can make anything now, right? There's
Okay.
Canva, graphic designers, you can make your own logo.
Yeah.
But I just sort of say, like, after you've done that, let's, step it up a notch and, do
Mm,
something that is, more customized, a little more elevated.
mm,
And, maybe that, video that you've got on your page yourself is working for you, and that's fine. But, the hope is that your business grows and as, increases brand awareness
mm.
and the reputation grows with it. And that maybe, you know, people will begin to expect more from you in terms of when they go to your website. Or are they going to see a logo that you pulled from, Canva, or are they going to see like a real customized look and feel?
Yeah, for sure. Like I have a joke, is your logo initials in a circle? You know what I mean? Like it's just been played out, you
You
know?
really say that to clients? Like you really ask them that?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Let's
Yeah.
just cut to it.
Right. Yeah.
Your kid's friend that put your law firm's initials in a circle with a gavel doesn't show your real value. It's low hanging fruit. So you
Yeah.
bring up a good point, which is once you try the low hanging fruit, do you want to ratchet it up and really deliver some high value for whatever that return on investment is, right? And so uh delivering a lot more than Canva or something. I guess the real story behind that is there's no strategy. There's no depth of story behind your initials in a circle.
Right.
What's the value in the story there? You know?
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying about strategy, that's actually really important to me because in many ways, I'm not the strategist. And if anything, we were talking about the web developer and social media marketer, like they're sort of like on,
Right.
this side, and the strategist, digital marketing strategist on this side, and I'm in the middle, and I'm sort of the person who's going to be like, okay, tell me what your strategy is. Who's your target audience?
Right.
What is the goal? What problem are we solving? But then I'm going to deliver it to the people who know how to get it out there.
Yeah.
And so I really want to be plugged into that sort of that pipeline.
Mhm. So you definitely, like, if you're looking for the right kind of client or person, they need to know some stuff about their business, right? They've probably been in business for a while. If they're just a startup, they may not have the budget and they may not have the intel to make decisions around specific decisions. Because one of my favorite sayings is if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one, right?
Yep. Right.
So
Yeah. Like, what are your avatars, right? Like thinking about like what's your target audience? Who is your ideal client? Like draw that picture up, right? Like, I mean,
they should already know that before they come to you, right?
oh
If
yes, way
someone
before
says,
they come to me.
what if they said, my target, my avatar, I always think of the movie Avatar when I hear that. My avatar is, people with money that can afford to buy my services. Like
Yeah, I would
that's
drill that down and get a bit more specific. I mean, I've gone through sort of like business training classes where they say like go deeper, okay, that high net worth individual who can
yeah,
afford you. What time are they waking up in the morning? Where do
right.
they live? What kind of a car do they drive? Like
I'm totally, I think the other side to that too is sometimes if it's not a seasoned business or an older business, they're not comfortable with the silos, right? They say, some clients say, if I niche it out too much, I'm going to be losing other people. And that's not true. That's not true. And I'd love to know your opinion on this. When you niche out, you're basically just streamlining your messaging. So it's clear. And then even if you're not in that silo or in that niche, you can still apply that messaging to your demographic. It's just super clear and like laser beam focused. So people have the wrong idea around niche. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely love that you're saying that to me now, because I have recently done that myself with my own business. For so long, I used to say, quote unquote, I'm industry agnostic. I will do any industry.
Yeah.
And in many ways, I mean, I still will do any industry, but like
Right.
I have niche markets now.
Yeah.
And I said it at the beginning, I'm targeting nonprofits and tech and healthcare. I mean, and those, it's like those are great, verticals that I can really put some focus on and, show them on my website of these are, examples of videos in that vertical. But look, do I have, a few samples of other videos for other verticals? Of course. Like I'm not gonna, so I am definitely all for the niching or,
Yeah.
sort of narrowing down. I think it
Yes.
does help.
It's funny that you say that too, because when I'm in a meeting and you're like, let's say networking or whatever, and you're like, who's your target client? And they're like, oh, I'm industry agnostic. And it's like, how is my brain supposed to laser beam focus on a perfect client for you if you can't even tell me
Yeah.
one? And so
Yep.
it's kind of
Right.
this, it doesn't help in sales or just brand awareness, right? So you can be
Absolutely.
industry agnostic on the inside, but on the outside, you need to give me some concrete examples of stuff. And then if you say too much stuff, then I start to zone out, right? But if you say tech or nonprofits or whatever, take some risks, because that's where the rewards are, right?
Yeah, it's really been an interesting process and exercise for me in terms of my
Yeah.
own business and figuring out, okay, what is my niche? And like, I mean, I went so far as to I put together my mission statement and my value statement. And
Yeah.
I set my core values and like really kind of trying to establish more my company as not just like, oh, it's just me. Like, no, it's, as I'm bringing on more people, I want my company to be sort of understood as
Right.
something bigger that stands for something.
Yeah. That's where the juice is for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting towards the end here. What else do you think? Like, do you have anything else you would like to share with people about how you help them?
Sure. I think, I mean, one thing that, to really ask yourself is like, what problem are we having that can be explained with visual storytelling? And it's a different question to ask for different companies. I mean, or even like if you're a nonprofit, the way I often explain it is like, if you've been showing the like video of like all the work your volunteers are doing or all the work that, the money that you've, raised is going to, that's great. But that's, and you've been showing that video for whatever, 20 years, but why not show like the backstory and explain like with, in a passionate, explanation about why your nonprofit exists. And this goes back to the, Simon Sinek, the why theory, right? Like, and it's like, is, your current videos, or is your logo, or is the text on your website, is it getting at your why? And is it showing that? And so, the why is often the root of the problem solving that your company does. We are a law firm and we solve your issues with this, and that's our why, and so I always say, just like a video animation might be able to sort of visually tell the story of a company's why and the problem that they're solving for their clients.
Yeah, I love it's called the golden circle. That's what Simon Sinek does, right? And so it's very different conversation than like, let's just say lawyers, because I have a lot of lawyer clients. It's a very different conversation that lawyers are having, right? That they're using process as a way to explain what they do, right? And I'm always saying use outcomes as a way to explain what you do, because no one wants to buy that you're a great lawyer. They want to buy that you're going to save them money or keep the house, or it's the outcome of your lawyering.
Right.
You can say I went to Harvard or Stanford and I, did this and this and this, but in the end, the client cares about the outcomes, not that you went to an Ivy League school. That's the marketing. And so what you're saying is, it sounds like the why is really the different story, because the process is the same mostly for all lawyers. We work really hard. We call you back. We pay attention. We've been in business for 30 years. Like, all that is not exciting. So the why is where the juice is, right?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Right. Like, that's what people are going to connect to.
Right.
So, and what I'm doing is just taking that and doing it visually and telling that story, and we're visual species. I mean, we connect to seeing something, if the way I see it is like, I often say, like, it's if we see a bear, we're going to run really fast. But if we read a sign that says the bear is coming and he's about to attack, like, it just doesn't visually affect our bodies to have that flight as quickly. And so, all these statistics out there, visual information travels to our brain 60,000 times faster than text. I mean, we remember things more when we see them visually than when we read them. And look, I'm not saying stop reading. I love books. I just want to come out there and say it. I'm all for books.
Yeah,
books are different than copy, I should say.
I love that. I think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
you can tell someone to eat right, or don't eat that, but then they eat it and they get sick, and then they'll always remember not to eat it, right? Or something like that. Being healthy, right? They say that you only really value your health until you've had like a health scare or something, right? Or whatever. So with the bear thing, that's a smart story. I like that. Well, Sherene, how do people get in touch with you if they want to, like, if they don't know they're ready for it or whatever, like, can they how do they reach out? Like, are you going to be mad at them if they don't, like, I'm just kidding, but give them how they can talk to you.
Yeah. I'm always happy to take a discovery call, no fees for that. You can go to my website, 87thstreetcreative.com, spelled 87th, street spelled out, and then creative.com. And there is a link to reach out to me there. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can hop onto my calendar and book a call. I'm always happy to talk to somebody and give them information about this. I realize this is a complex process if you haven't done it before, but it's not that scary. I can walk you through the steps, and you've seen a little bit of the steps and the process today. It's all possible. So definitely reach out to me, follow me on any of the socials. Always happy to connect with people.
Cool. And then I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and then I'll put everything in the description box. And I know when people make videos, they point, like they're pointing just in the description box, or click the thing, whatever. I'll put it all in there. Okay. Thank you so much. And have a great day, everyone. And happy 2023. We're into April. And so wishing everybody the best. Okay. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.